some people
Yeah.
may not even know the power that they have, and some people, I think worse off, may forget the type of power they've had.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Um, you know, closure is an ongoing, it's an evolving thing. It's not just a one time shot. Okay, we all close out certain pieces and certain every day is a closing actually. And every day is a new beginning. So what and our power is only in the present moment. So this moment that we're talking is going to determine the next few moments, the next few days, and carry forward into the year 2025. Um, and so that's one point I want to make. And I like that word closure. And the other thing is, some people are not aware of the power, their authentic power from within. We all have it. And some may have forgotten because situations or circumstances may be saying, gosh, I'm I'm really not that powerful. Look what just happened. Look at how this all panned out. Everything fell apart. And I think we talked about it in our last show together that I'm truly dedicated to awakening hearts, minds, and most especially spirit to our authentic power from within. The power to thrive and not merely survive. And we all do have it if we choose to recognize that. It can't come from anywhere else unless it comes from within us first and foremost. So that's the big reminder for people as we close out this year. And it's never too late to close this year on a strong point, regardless of where one might be right now.
Let me ask you, Rhonda, a question.
Yes.
Because I agree that closure, a lot of people, even myself, I know when I've had situations and I didn't get closure, I'm like, oh my God, I need closure. It's like on my mind. I think about it every minute of every day, of every week, of every month.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some people struggle with closure, let's say in their romantic relationships, like something may happen and they're
Mm-hmm.
not able to get closure because, let's say, for example, they feel powerless. Like we talked about, right? Like they don't understand the type of power they have. So when someone is looking for closure, because I think for a lot of people, they need that step to ultimately move on down the
Yes.
path to get their power back. How can they
Yes.
find closure to help them regain their power?
Okay. And I'm glad you brought that up with because this is the holidays and on most people's minds, they're thinking about their romantic relationship if they have one. And they're also thinking about, well, I don't have a romantic relationship. And maybe it's because they didn't get closure when they ended something with someone on an earlier note. And the thing about closure is you don't necessarily have to have the other person, the partner, the spouse, the husband or wife, in the vicinity so that you can get closure. That's the operative word. You are getting closure. So, however you put closure to it, understand that if you are moving on, you are moving on. You're closing out that chapter, you're releasing it, you're letting go. I say let go, release, let go, let God, let whoever have it, because that's how you put closure. And that's the only way one door will close and another door will open. And then you have the privilege of walking over the threshold to that door. Um, when people feel that they need the other person present and they need to say what's on their heart and mind, I mean, I agree with that if it can be done. But if it can't be done, the closure comes from right here, comes from within. And that's where the power begins from within. So if we're closing out a an adventure, an escapade, a sequence, a series with one romantic partner, I have something I say. I I bless you. I love you. I forgive you, and I release you. And so it is. Amen. Practice that in the mirror with yourself. Look in the mirror and say, I bless you. I love you. Hard one for some people. I forgive you and I release you. It is done. Amen. Even these, when I just said that right now, and I've done a lot of work in the mirror on myself and with others, I could feel lighter. I could feel lighter. And, some of us have had some really not so good endings to relationships. I know I have. And I seem to always find the gift and the blessing, and to be able to thank that individual for awakening me a little bit more to who I am, how I am, and where I'd like to be. And that's, you know enough about me now as an alchemist. I take the good and the not so good, and I find that blessing in the not so good. There is a gift and a blessing.
Do you think maybe some people struggle to realize that it's a singular feat and they don't need someone else to release them to find the happiness that they're seeking?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Happiness begins within yourself. Love begins with loving yourself, with caring for yourself, with respecting yourself, with esteeming yourself, with appreciating yourself. Once you got that happening, it doesn't happen all at once. It doesn't happen on a big level. It may happen on a little level, then get bigger and bigger. It evolves. Once you have that going on for you, watch and see what and whom you attract, not in just in romance, but in every area of your life, because that's what it boils down to. And I know, believe me, so just because I live and breathe transformation doesn't mean I'm not immune to what goes on. I am. But I have learned the alternative is much better if I go within rather than depend on everyone else. And I take gruff sometimes, especially in these past relationships from people that love me, my family, my friends, my colleagues.
I
They
look
don't.
at like Rhonda, if I look at the holiday season, which we're
Yes,
entering,
yes.
right? And there's a lot of people who would say that, at least in America and in Canada, I always say the last 3 years are like, sorry, the last 3 months of the year are beautiful, beautiful times for those who have healthy relationships. You have Thanksgiving, you have
Mhm.
Remembrance Day, Memorial Day, and you have the holiday season. Fantastic things to celebrate with those close to you. And then you have January, which is like the boom, back to reality, right?
Right, right.
There's times where I've noticed that people will reach out that have done you dirty, right? They've traumatized you in some way, they've abused you in some way, but because it's the holiday season, they become filled with the holiday spirit. And this is spirit that maybe they should have always had, but you
Mm.
know how it works, right? For the first 9 months of the year, it's all about me, me, me. And now it's like, okay, I want to enter the new year with a new state of mind, knowing that January 1st are going to go back to the monster that they are, right?
Right.
So when you're trying to help them find a balance between staying true to themselves and understanding that there's going to be people who's going to test your progress, test your strength. How would you guide them to stay the path and make sure they don't go backwards instead of continuing to go forwards?
Oh, yes, especially with what we refer to as the proverbial X. Okay. You may find the X hovering this time of year. hovering because they miss us, or hovering because they realize, as you put it, they done us dirty, and they got to release themselves somehow from that feeling, that guilt. So what can I do? They're saying, this is happening with me right now. And I am at an arm's length because it's not the best thing for me. I'll just say it. Self care is my most important thing these days. I cannot be the very best I am in any area of my life, and especially in the transformation business. I have to be I don't have to, I choose to be the example to others that, look, I love them, I forgive them, I bless them, I've released them. And I've done this in many ways, written wise. And I do it with clients and with audiences. But you have to understand that they need something too. And here's the thing, they probably haven't found it within themselves just yet. And maybe they have. Maybe some people have done that transformation, that work, that inner work. So now they need to come back to the person that they depended on to do the work for them. But all you're not doing them a service. You're certainly not doing yourself a service. They're maintaining the dependency, and you're nurturing their dependency, the codependency.
Is that the trap that a lot of people find themselves in?
Absolutely. It's the trap. It's like the comfortable pair of shoes. Well, you know what you have with the X, or what you had. Now, if you haven't done any growing yourself, the inner work, you may just say, oh, well, they weren't so bad. Okay. And I'm not judging or criticizing, but I am observing, and I'm starting with me. But there are so many people that we're in the same boat. I mean, come on. Start loving and appreciating yourself. Start looking in the mirror and think about, for me, it's been 3 years. 3 years. But you know what? I've done a lot of growing in 3 years. When somebody says, well, haven't you met anyone there? I said, yes, I have, as a matter of fact. I've met many people, but there's this one person, special person. She's articulate, she's kind, she's attractive, she's fun, she likes to cook and garden, she likes to walk or run. And they're looking at me, and I say, yeah, her name's Rhonda Farrah.
I love that you did that. Some people don't count finding themselves as finding someone.
Correct. Correct. And again, I have hired the bar, the standards higher, not disrespecting, not judging, not criticizing anyone from my past, but embracing what I've learned about Rhonda. And we can all do that if we choose to. It's scary at times, but you know what? It's like anything you practice, you get better and better and better at it.
Rhonda, I remember a time, this must have been, wow, I'm going to age myself. Time flies as we get older, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There was a time where there was maybe three exes message me in the same month just to catch up, meet up, and things like that, right? And I thought that I was catnip at that point in time, right? But I was talking to someone, but it wasn't serious yet. But then you have these three distractions.
Oh,
One thing
yes.
I've learned about it is when, at least for me, when you're about to pivot to something that you can see being very serious or something that could be very beneficial, it's like that hook in your life
Yeah.
that is trying to pull you back. And that is exactly what these three people represented. And I think I was able to identify it because of conversations and training like this. You and
Mhm.
I, we may not even think it, but we're from a very privileged space because we have the training and we have the insight and the experiences. For some people who are going through it, like how maybe you and I would have gone through it years ago,
Mhm.
how can we help to enlighten them to make them understand that this is simply a test? Either you're going to pass it, either you're going to fail it, but whatever choices you make, you have to own those choices and continue with the choice that you made.
The first thing I would say to that, Terrain, is that that person, those people, must be ready, willing, and able to understand what we're talking about here. And it's a derailing. It's a when you're on the verge of something, that's why it's so important. Keep a lot of stuff to yourself. Okay. Don't seek the approval from others. I used to do a lot of that in my early years. I used to care what people thought. I don't care anymore. I care, but I don't care. I care what I think about myself because that's the most important ingredient. So there will be some challenges. What did you call it? A temptation? These people enter all of a sudden when you're embarking on something good. It could be with another person, an intimate relationship. It could be in your business. It could be that you're just downright happy and it's bugging them. Okay, because they'll pick up that. They'll definitely pick up that when we sit with that and we understand that. Do you ever think about someone and then you'll say, geez, I thought I put that to bed. No pun intended. Um, and I did. But you know what? That person's thinking about me. That's what I'm picking up on. So there is a temptation for us, but there's also when you're at one point in your life and you've risen, you really how do you know that they have risen? If they've risen too, great. You may come together in a different space, in a different way, shape, or form that's much better than the one that you had previously. But the first step, people must be willing to understand that look at I'm doing really well. Now I've got these thoughts, and the thoughts are yours. These thoughts could derail me. It's a detour. It's a detour. I know right now that the last two people I was with, I never could have come to where I am, not only personally, but in transformation and being a transformative example for those that I'm teaching, for those that I'm coaching, for those that I'm speaking to right now. So if they can understand that, and again, nothing wrong with the other person, but they might not be right for you on your journey. They may be on a different journey. And if their journey is leading them to their highest and best good or something better, then maybe at some point you'll connect because that's just the way it happens. You'll reconnect. Let's put it that way. But it is a derailment and it is a temptation and it is a challenge because, oh gosh, oh, I remember all the good things. Yeah, okay. Okay, think about the good things. That's great. But that doesn't mean you're going back to them.
People forget that. They forget the bad. Because if it was as good as they're choosing to remember it, then there would be no reason for it to end. And someone gave me this example, and it was indirect because they were going through something.
Mm-hmm,
And they were going through a very difficult relationship. There was financial abuse, there was belittlement, there was verbal abuse. And this person eventually was able to get out of the relationship.
mm-hmm,
And a year or two passed, and I guess him and the person, they maybe connected on social media. Maybe she messaged him or whatever the case is. And he contemplated saying that, you know what, maybe, yeah, maybe I should agree to meet up with this person and see how life is. Not remembering 2 years ago how he couldn't wait to escape it, how he had to work so hard on himself to
Mm.
escape it. And he was willing to throw all of that progress out the window. And I think sometimes what happens, at least from a male perspective, is that, and men, don't kill me for this, but I think men will forget if there's an opportunity for intimacy, right? It's a way to say that, okay, you were thinking with the top head,
Right.
now someone is trying to appease or appeal to the lower head to make you get back into something that you know logically isn't right for you, but
Yes.
you're getting caught up because the opportunity for intimacy is there.
Right. The opportunity for physical intimacy. And now men and women don't go up one side of me and down the other. But I believe that physical intimacy is the least intimacy of all. It's important. I like physical intimacy. It's important. It's gratifying. It's nice. It feels great. However, I feel it's the the least form. I won't use the word lowest, but the least form of intimacy. Because if one can be intimate in the heart and the mind space, let alone the spiritual space, physical, you've got it made.
Yeah, they discount the other levels of intimacy, like the emotional side, the mental
Yes.
side, right? Like, why do you think people, I have an idea why, but why do you think people focus so much more, at least in the beginning and temporarily, on the physical and not the other two?
Mm-hmm. Well, we're conditioned. That's our society. Okay, that's our society. Um, of course, I've been in a situation where I've fallen in love with someone's mind, with their brain. They weren't the most attractive person, but that's what I fell in love with first. But we are conditioned. Um, what is that? We judge the book by its cover. So how does it look? It's got a nice cover. It's glossy and everything. We're conditioned, and then we all have needs and we all have urges. Touch is very important. It's a very important sense. So that will move things along. And before you know it, and I always say as well, once you cross that line called sex, it's a whole different story. You're in a whole different realm. You've just changed the relationship because you're there. It's the sex. Sex is for me is different than intimacy. I like the big package. That's it.
I think the same thing. I think some people forget, some people confuse the two, right? They think that, okay, I was sexual with this person, that automatically means intimacy. I was like, no, intimacy is more than just intercourse. There's a lot, there's steps to it. And one of the reasons why I think so many people get caught up in relationships, especially one that is so heavy physically sexual,
Mm-hmm.
is that it's a very quick but fleeting way to connect with someone. I've slept with this person, I've touched their body, they've touched mine, and we have a physical understanding, at least in that moment, of the person. But tomorrow you may not even know their last name.
Right.
Right? You may not know what they like. You may not know what their hobbies are. So you're not connecting in a long lasting way. You're connecting something that is very temporary. And the thing is, when you lead with physical intimacy, you always have to provide it.
Yeah.
Versus if you lead with an emotional intimacy, even though you may be at work and you may be at work, you can still feel that intimacy because you've established it. What are your thoughts?
I think you're absolutely correct. It's what you lead with, that's what you continue with. Okay. And I'm gonna say, I dare to say, but I will say it, it's easier to have the physical relationship, that immediate gratification. That's our society. We're in an immediate gratification society. But is it long lasting? Research bears that it is not. If you That's where you start, on the physical plane, you're going to stay there. Start a little bit further in the hierarchy. Again, if you dare. Some people have never done that. So we're coming up to a new year. Let's take our power back. We're starting to remove the people, places, situations, circumstances, the events that have not served us. It may have taken us, 11 months. We've at least removed them in our heart and our mind. We know. I mean, for me, when something is not feeling right, I feel convicted. Okay. I could say, oh, that's just, no, that's not true. Because look at all this good stuff about this person or about this job or about where I live or everything else. But I know there is something better for me to express the best version of myself. And that's some people, as again, crucial to go within. If you don't know what the best version of yourself is, you cannot possibly express it, let alone attract a counterpart to express with you the best version of themselves. And there are some people that the best version of themselves is different than you. It doesn't make them less. We're all whole, perfect, and complete just the way we are. But if you're not clicking on that level, being the best version of yourself, or if you're, I used to do a lot of relationship counseling in psychotherapy. That's why I became a coach. That's why I became an alchemist. Because if you're not clicking on that best version of yourself, then what happens is, remember that adage, you'll bring 50%, I'll bring 50%. Well, two things about that. First of all, I never agreed with it. Bring 100% of yourself because you're going to need it. But don't start taking that 100% and making up for what the other person isn't bringing. That light at the end of the tunnel will be a train coming at you rather than the guidance, rather than the blueprint for you to live the best version of yourself.
So you're saying, for example, if I walk into a relationship at 100% and the other person is bringing 50, I have to make up that other 50. So I'm actually bringing 150 and that person is bringing 50%. So now I'm bringing three times what they're bringing instead of it being a 1-to-1 ratio.
That's right. That's exactly right. And, we can't all be 100% wonderful, the wonderful beings that we are all the time. However, that's what you need. Give 100% to yourself, first and foremost. And as women, wow, we are so good at nourishing and nurturing others, myself included. But when I started bringing that 100%, it's not that I'm not open to love, but you know what? I'm going to stick with my 100%. And they take a little longer, but that's okay. Because what is long lasting takes a little longer. I believe that. There are some people, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I gotta hurry up. I gotta find somebody. I can't be alone. Well, you're never alone if you bring yourself, because we are the main character in our life. And wherever we go, we bring ourselves. So you're not alone. Understand that. And again, more important to like yourself, if not love yourself, or both. But it's that pressure. It's like Do you ever wait for water to boil on the stove? You keep watching it, watching it. My experience is it takes longer for it to boil because you're watching it. When. Let it go, for crying out loud. Don't you have anything else better to do than watch water boil on the stove?
That's a good analogy, and I love using that one because it's true. Like when someone is so focused on one thing and they can't even see anything else, it takes forever for it to get done. Like
Mm-hmm.
that pot boiling. But when
Yeah,
you set it down and you go work on other things, you're like, oh, wow, that was pretty fast. That happened in no time
right.
because your power of observation and your focus is somewhere else. And we touched on like regaining your power. And I know there's some people that what they lead with is what they find power in. And what they
Mm-hmm.
find power in may not necessarily be working for them, but yet they stick with it because they've had a lot of temporary success.
Mm-hmm.
I got Rhonda's attention today. So let me do more of what I did today to get it tomorrow and the next week and the next month. Versus, as you mentioned, right? Let me focus on me, build myself up, and then just because I'm a better person, I have to do less to attract more. Why do you think some people miss that part of the equation?
That's a very important equation, too. It's less is actually more. Less is more. You ever be to go to someone's house? I mean, I'm not a minimalist. I have an eclectic personality and I love art and, but I don't have every knickknack there is around the house. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not me. Okay. So they start gathering and gathering and gathering. And after a while, that's what they find the comfort in, just like they would they'll gather some people around. Okay. I have very few people. I'm a very private person. And I always used to say to my daughter, and I still do, and my grandchildren, if you can count your friends on half a hand, your true friends, half a hand, you're in good shape. And the first person you should count is yourself. Are you a friend to yourself? Do you esteem and value yourself? Because that's what a friend is. I've been a friend to many people who have not been a friend to me. I quit that. And I love people. I'm a very compassionate person, and I love all people, but I don't like all people or their behaviors. You know, there's this thing because I'm on social media. I have a business page, but I also have a personal Facebook page. And for a long, I sometimes I put when I was in a relationship, married. Then I cut all that out. Then I said, some of my colleagues on a personal page have put relationship single. So I put single. The day I put single was the day that every person that claimed that they were a widower stopped contacting me. Okay. I want to friend you. Well, let me see what you're about. Widower, delete. Okay. It's remarkable. So you'd think it would be the other way. But because I said, no, I'm single, I'm going to try a test after the first of the year. I'm actually going to take it out. I'm not going to put anything and leave everybody guess. Now, if I start getting those friend requests that tell me they're widowers, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. But you see, this is how it works. We attract what we put out there. Maybe because I had single, I was only attracting single people, whomever they were. Not widower. What do you mean? Does that mean you're single or you're not?
That's the guessing game, right? Like
It's a guessing game.
they're trying to interpret it. And it's interesting that you mentioned you are what you put out there because there's some people that Well, they surround themselves with people like many of us do, right? We surround ourselves with people, and then when you go down the list of the people they surround themselves with, you begin to scratch your head and you're like, okay, this person cheats on their husband, this person uses women, this person can't keep a job, this
Mhm.
person doesn't pay their child support, doesn't see their kids, and then you ask the person who's the center of all that, these are the people that you like to be around. And they'll tell you that has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you.
Absolutely everything. And you're nourishing that for yourself. You're nurturing that for yourself. I forget who said it, but you are the sum of the five people you hang around with the most.
And it's interesting that when you put it that way, because a lot of people know that saying, right? When you put it that way, when you go back to that person now and you say, okay, out of all these people here, I just gave you five, and I've told you what some of their behaviors are. Which behaviors do you do? They will say that, well, I don't do any of that. Well, then why are you around it? If I gave someone the example that if you met me and I showed you five of my friends, three are serial murderers and two are kidnappers, wouldn't you look at me funny and wonder, Terrain, why are you around these people? Why do you keep these people around you? It's the
Mm.
same thing, but some people they can't connect it.
It's easier to be around people. You let me ask you, do you think it's easier? That was my perspective. Do you think it's easier to be around people that don't challenge you? That, and I don't mean in a bad way. Do you think it's easier to be around people that don't have some of the emotional, the mental, the spiritual inclinations that you have? Because I can
Yes, and
see
I'll yes,
you're
yes, and I'll take
involved
it. Yeah,
from the individual. There you go.
yeah, yeah,
It's
and I'll take it a step further and say that it's easier to be around dysfunctional people.
because it might make someone feel good to be around dysfunctional people. Okay, might make them feel good, might make them feel really good because, first of all, their bar, their standard is lowered. And because those people are dysfunctional, whatever that means, 85% of the population is dysfunctional. I know my family is, but we can all be dysfunctional together. So, that worked for us until it didn't. Then, so you say, well, why would you want someone like that? I was listening to a conversation of not colleagues, not in our industry, uh, two women. One I know pretty well, really well, and the other I like, but I don't know her as well. And they were talking about, they were talking about whatever escapade they had for the day. And then they asked me, well, how was your day, with clients? Or And I said, well, I found this person that was what I call trauma bonding. Okay, they were associating with anything traumatic because it made them feel good. Okay. And so they're looking at me, and I said, well, the clinical term would be trauma bonding. That's what it's happening with this person. I said, and before they asked what's that, I said, the layperson's term is misery loves company. They both looked at each other and said, we were trauma bonding today. And they laughed about it. But you see, that's what, when you attach yourself to something that it allows you to be a victim, to say, poor me, this always happens to me, that's bonding with events and people that are traumatic.
Absolutely. They find a problem for every solution instead of finding a solution for every problem.
Every solution is there is no solution. There is the, the solution is a problem. Okay. It's that proverbial but.
Absolutely. They say
Oh,
something,
it's nice out
but
today. So cold. So, well, this
yeah.
happens every year. It's winter. And, but it's a bright, sunny day. But, and I often
Yes.
say to people who do that with me, whether it's on a professional or personal level, I say, do you realize that for every negative statement that comes out of your mouth, you must counteract that with three positive statements, three positive things, three things that are good. If everything that comes out of your mouth is bad, geez, you're up to 30. You got to come up with 30 now. You just said 10 lousy things.
I put someone through a test like that. I told them, but mine was more harsh, I guess. I said that you've
Did you think
complained.
that was harsh?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, go
But I
ahead, go
told
ahead.
them, I was like, I was like, you've reached your limit on complaints for this year. So I saw that from this day forward, and so from today, let's say it's December 1st to 2024 to December 1st, 2025, I was like, you are not allowed to complain about anything. And the person sat back, looked at me, and I was like, yes. That means that you won't even be able to speak because I can see the wheels in their head, right? They're like, oh my God, what is I'm going to talk about? Talk about yourself in a positive way. And they began to sweat. They couldn't do it. They're so trapped by their negativity, by their, yeah, this is good, but they feel powerless and they don't even know how to reclaim it. And I think anecdotally, one of the reasons why they probably do that is because those who listen to their negativity, they have a sense of control over them.
Mhm.
Because I have your time, I have your attention, I have your emotions, and that's how I think they get their power. Because they don't have power in their own lives, they want
Mhm.
to extract resources over you in a way, feeling powerful over you because they know it's a certain level of control.
Yes, that's parasitic. That's what that's called in biological terms. That's that's a parasite. How long you can let them suck it out of you? That's it. And all they're doing is begetting more of that crap for themselves. The people that they're are finally going to shake them off, the parasite. And they're going to say, oh, boy, I don't feel so good when I'm with this person, when I talk to this person. This is not making me feel good. I mean, you can be not evolved and not transformed just yet, although you're never too old for transformation. The You will understand at a certain point, this is not for me. This kind of, I believe it's called negative self talk, negative talk about others, about situations and circumstances. When I'm speaking with an audience or a client, a group, can you tell me one thing? Can you tell me three things that you like about yourself? Hard pressed. You ask them to look in the mirror, they go away. Okay, to do that. Okay, how about one thing? Okay, most people could do it, which is great. One thing. I don't care how little it is, how big it is, whatever. And that's where it begins. How good are we at? That's why the society is like this, because we all make up the we are the sum of our parts. So the world is the sum of all of us. So if everybody's contributing negative talk about themselves and others, it's going to beget more negative talk about self and others. And then it's like the snowball. rolling down the hill, gaining more snow, more momentum until it plows everything over that it can possibly plow over. So, do you want to live like that? Or do you just want to not live like that? And some people, they don't know what they want. Well, I said, well, let's start with what you don't want. Do you want to be the snowball running down the hill? You'll either crash into a big enough tree and you'll fall apart, or you'll take so many other people down with you. Which makes you feel better? Well, none of that does. I said, well, this is what we're talking about right here. And what a better time of the year. Use our power for good, not for crap. You know, it, stop talking negatively about yourself, about your parents, about your siblings, about your children, about colleagues, about people you work with. Stop, cut it out.
So Rhonda, let me ask you a question when it comes to
Yeah.
that. How can someone who is then always used to bringing in people into their negativity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they feed off of it. The more people that they can trap or get a hold of, the more negative they are, right? It's like they're feeding off of the energy of that person. And I truly believe in a lot of ways they are actually feeding off of the good energy of the people they come in contact with. How can someone break free of that? Because we know how those people are getting their power. How can someone who is trying to not be that way break free, regain their power so they can move forward?
I will usually let someone speak about all of that for a little while, and I will look at them and I'll say, I understand. They'll talk more about it. I say, yeah, I understand. Well, what do you think about that, Rhonda? I said, I just told you. I understand. I got to go now. See ya. I mean, you may not think it, but I can be pretty bold. Okay. I can be pretty, I'm a Gemini. There's two of us. Okay. So trust and believe. In years past, I have been the ultimate enabler. I was very good at it. Everything fell apart because everything had to fall apart so it could fall together. In the so that I could be the best version of myself, and I'm not there. It's getting better every day. That's what I would say. Tell them you understand because there's a piece of us. We've all been there. We've all been there. I was reminded because of this time of year, the Salvation Army is out. Every time I go to the grocery store, make sure I have my money out. They're freezing outside. This is Colorado Springs. I mean, it's warming up. It was 40, 43 today. And we dodged a major snowstorm. So, but this one, he says, will you stay warm? Thank you very much. And I said, you stay warm too. He goes, well, that's why we do this. So we can help other people stay warm. And he said, we've all been there. And I go, I am very well aware of that. We've all been in a situation, maybe more than once, that we were saying, who will help me? Where can I get some help?
Is that scary for some people to ask for help?
No question about it. And in my opinion, they're most scared because they're afraid they'll get a no. They'll be rejected. I think it's the no versus that they are not humble enough to ask. Believe me, if you need something, if you need shelter, if you need food, you will ask.
I agree. I agree. If you needed help, You'll ask once it hits the fan. Like there's that bottom point that, and it's different for everyone else. Once you reach it, you have no choice. Ego's out the door.
Mm.
Um, whatever else is blocking you from asking for help, you will ask. The only concern is now, what happens if they ask the wrong person?
They may get a no, or they may get the hand, or they may say sorry. They may get the sorry. No, thank you. Sorry. I can't help you. No, thank you. To help someone is to be blessed ourselves, in my opinion. I know that. To be able to help someone, not looking for anything in return, is a blessing for me. That's what we're here for. We're here to be of service to others. Even if you're the person that needs all the help, that's a very courageous thing to do. To surrender to the point where you're saying, could you please help me? I have nothing to eat. Could you please help me? I can't buy my kid a present for Christmas. That's that's power. To go within and be powerful enough, to be humble enough to ask for help.
Toronto, let me ask you as we close, what final tips do you want to give people who are struggling towards the end of the year and the new year because the focus, and we are all being bombarded by it, is to spend time with as many people as possible, but some are just struggling with the type of relationships that they have currently, and we want to help them by giving them tips to close out the year.
I would say listen to your heart, sit quietly. Some people call it meditation. It's not necessarily meditation, it's sitting quietly. And there's no such thing as stilling the mind, as far as I'm concerned. The mind was not meant to be still. Okay. See what comes in, and how you feel about that. That's the stillness. Let the mind do what it's going to do, because that's your information. Let the heart do what it's going to do, because that's your information. If you can do that, you are beginning the power that you need, in my opinion, to bring with you into 2025. It's the year of removing the rest of the crap that has not been serving you, and being bold and courageous enough to say, it's gone. Nature abhors a vacuum. Don't worry. Get rid of what's not serving you and make some room so that something better can come in. You mentioned ego. Ego, I have two egos, not because I'm a Gemini, but I believe this ego can stand for two things. The late, great Dr. Wayne Dyer, ego, edging God out. That's what it is. When you're so proud, you're edging God out. I don't need anybody. It's me. It's all about me. Edging God out, ego. There's another ego, though. For me, it's expressing God outstandingly. Understand that we are magnificent beings created in the image of whatever you call it. I call it God, I call it divine, I call it spirit, I call it source. No excuses. We're created in the image to express God outstandingly. The God within me, the God of my understanding, is right here. It's not the lightning bolt in the sky, the proverbial lightning bolt that's going to hit me in my proverbial ass one day or another. It's not that. It's right here. That's where the power is. It's right here. And I would say, look, this is your opportunity. I know you get one. You think you get one every new year. They're going to make these New Year's resolutions. I don't believe in them. Every day is a new beginning. Go to bed. Maybe you sleep soundly. Maybe you don't. You wake up. You wake up tired. You wake up frustrated. You wake up worried, or you wake up energized, ready to say, This is a new beginning. And today's a great day to have a great day. If it's not a great day to have a great day, today's a good day to have a good day. Let's begin now. Let's begin at the beginning. But don't wait till that the bells and whistle and the ball falls and Times Square and all that. Don't wait for that. Start now. Wake up in the morning and treat it as a new beginning. Practice now, because next year, as you continue to remove all that's not serving you, you're going to have many new beginnings, and you get to choose what they are.